everyone, and welcome to the Political Job Interview, where I interview candidates running for election. I'm Vincenzo Calla, the host, and today I take on the role as the boss, giving a job interview to today's candidate, Nicolas Castro. Nicolas is running for election for Ottawa City Council as a candidate for Ward 11, Beacon Hill-Cyrville. Thank you, Nicolas, for your time, and thanks for joining me today.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on.
It's great to have you, and without further ado, let's get this job interview started. As with any good job interview, I'm going to start off with an opportunity to learn more about Nicolas. The first question is, tell me a little bit about yourself and your story.
I moved to Ottawa when I was 3, and I've been here ever since. Spent elementary school and high school and then university puttering around the city. I am rather involved in various things in the city, starting a band. I'm a musician in my spare time, and rather involved in my local church in Canada. And I've went to high school at All Saints, for anyone who knows that place. And when I was about 15, 16, there was the whole, Trump getting elected, and that was sort of the start of my interest in politics. Before that, I followed it as entertainment, we'll say. But after that, it became more of passion, and I started forming opinions about various issues. American politics can be very flashy, and so that's what got my attention at first. But then I quickly moved over to also following Canadian politics, first at the federal level, and then moving on to the municipal level. I was very lucky to have a local paper in Canada, the Community Voice. Anyone in Canada North will know it. And they have been a wonderful source of information on the goings-on at the city council level, some of the controversies that have happened, both defending decisions made by the councillors as well as critiquing them for what the editors of the paper believe have been mistakes. And so following that for a while, I started to form opinions on various issues at the city level, various things from development and infrastructure to the issues around transit, especially because myself, having gone to school here, I've dealt with transit a lot. I'm renting a place in Ottawa. I have to deal with housing affordability. So as someone very involved in the goings-on of the city, it was a natural progression to want to get involved at a political level, at a decision-making level, as to what happens in our city.
So why have you decided to run for this position? What made you decide to actually get onto the candidate side of things and run?
It's a great question. I could give you many answers that are all true and none perhaps of the whole story. At the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is that the list of reasons became so long that it seemed like a silly idea not to run. I've always loved getting involved. I want to make people's lives better. I want to help people. And every politician needs that little bit of arrogance that says, I could do a better job. I could help more people than the person who's doing it right now. More specifically to this specific riding, this specific election, the incumbent has been there for 12 years. He was running unopposed at the time that I submitted my candidature. And after 12 years in office, you can start to get a little comfortable in your position. And when you're running unopposed, you can start to feel a little invincible. And that's when either laziness or corruption might happen. And so even if I don't win, I want to make sure that whoever does get elected is on the top of their game and not getting complacent.
So let's take a bit of time now to talk about the job and what Nicolas brings to it. So the first question, Nicolas, is what experience do you bring to this job?
Yes, and that's a great question, very relevant. I think that to a certain extent, I'm running based on my lack of experience. I think that it's very important to have people on council who are not long-term politicians. They bring an important voice. As well, myself being a young person, the lack of experience comes into play in my, we'll call it youthful optimism, that when others would say that something is impossible, I would say that maybe there is a way we can get it accomplished. Let's not just dismiss these ideas out of hand. That being said, I'm not running completely as a novice in leadership roles. The most recent and most applicable position I've been on is that I was a member of the faculty council for the engineering faculty at the University of Ottawa. I was the representative for the computer science students, and my job on that council was to advocate for any issues that might come up for the students, as well as provide a vote on anything that they might propose changes to the faculty. And so one thing that I advocated for in that position was places where students could go to do job interviews, because the university, due to COVID regulations, had closed the usual quiet places where students could do interviews. Problem was that the students were required to be on campus for their classes. And so this was an issue, and my ability to get involved was somewhat limited by the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic. Several of our council meetings were canceled, and my term was in fact shortened because the last several meetings had to be canceled again because of COVID. But I do think that, I was able to make my voice heard and fight for the students.
So what sets you apart from all the other candidates who are running in this ward?
I don't want to harp on this too much, but definitely my age, the fact that I'm just getting started in my career, which lets me represent quite a few people who do not otherwise have a voice on council. I'm paying rent. I'm dealing with grocery prices. I've got to take the bus to school. I'm very much involved in the day-to-day issues that face the people of the city that the other candidates may not be as familiar with. As well, I think that while the others might have a long list of things that they can reference, ways they've been involved in their community, I'm still running on recent things I've done for the community. I've been involved in many events at the church, barbecues, free barbecues for the community, collection events for the shelters around the city. So my what I would call my accomplishments are a lot more recent than some of what they reference.
Part of serving as an elected official is serving those people who elect you. So a few questions now about how Nicolas wants to serve the people. So the first one is, what's something that the people you would like to serve the people of your ward need that you want to get done if you get elected?
I will preface this question by saying that the municipal election this year, it's a lot more city focused than ward focused than some previous elections. I know that at the televised debate in 2018 for my ward, many of the questions were regarding specific issues to the ward. The televised debate this year was a lot of citywide issues, and I think that it might be a benefit for council, considering the amount of new faces we're going to have, how united the city is in the problems facing it. We have a crisis in transit. We have a crisis in housing. And so both of these are things that I plan to fight for the people for the constituents of my ward. And I think that both of these things are areas where I have ideas that would be helpful to bring in that have not been tried before.
And finally, I wanted to go back to your accomplishments and ask you, what's one accomplishment that you've achieved that demonstrates why you'll be a good elected official should the people choose you?
I think that the other candidates might have an advantage on me on this question. They can point to their time on community associations where they've had major projects that they've taken to completion. Personally, what I'm going to reference is the fact that I survived 3 years teaching and helping kids at an after-school educational program. And the reason why I reference this as my accomplishment is because the experience I gained during those 3 years, I think, would be very beneficial to an elected official, myself included, who would want to serve on city council. Just to give a bit of context, I was working with these kids, these students at this program, who had just spent an entire day at school, maybe had a bad day, maybe were frustrated with what was going on in school. And then I had to take them through another hour and a half of more learning, more schooling. And sometimes they would be getting very frustrated, on the verge of tears, and I would have to communicate with them, help them calm down, help them, move forward constructively. This is applicable to city council. People who have watched the city council over the last couple of years know that it has started to be rather acrimonious. And I think that having someone who is effective in communication, at calming people down, someone who can be a mediator between the different factions on city council that might not see eye to eye. A reasonable voice is something that would be very helpful, and that's something that I have the skills and experience to provide to city council.
Thank you, Nicholas, so much for joining me today. It was great having you, and I'm sure the viewers have really enjoyed hearing what you have to offer to them. Election day is October 24th, 2022, and if you liked hearing what Nicolas Castro had to say, live in Ward 11, Beacon Hill-Cyrville, you have the opportunity to vote for him on Election Day. Check with your local election officials for more details. To stay updated, make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at VCProductions25. Check out my website, VincenzoCalla.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, and just get notifications here on YouTube. The political job interview is a VCalla production, so until the next video, I'm Vincenzo Calla, signing out.